Greetings, everyone. My name is Charles Kovach, the not safe for work presidential candidate campaigning for more direct democracy. And in this video, I am going to be reading Senate Bill 1914, Ending Support for Internet Censorship Act, which was introduced by Senator Josh Hawley. Again, let's see if the third one I read it actually like. Okay, so a bill to amend the Communications Decency Act to encourage providers of interactive computer services to provide content moderation that is politically neutral. Section 1, short title. This act may be cited as Ending Support for Internet Censorship Act. Section 2, political. I like how Section 1 is spelled out, but Section 2 is abbreviated. Political neutrality and content moderation. Alpha, in general, Section 230 of the Communications Act of 1934, 47 U.S.C. 230, is amended 1 in subsection Charlie by adding at the end the following new paragraph. So this is what's going to be added into, what's proposed, because this has only been introduced. This is not, not gone any further. Okay, so 3, requirement of politically unbiased content moderation by covered companies. Alpha, in general, paragraphs 1 and 2 shall not apply in the case of a covered company unless the company has in effect an immunity certification from the Federal Trade Commission, referred to in this paragraph as the Commission, under subparagraph Bravo, that the company does not moderate information provided by other information content providers in a manner that is biased against a political party, political candidate, or political viewpoint. Bravo, Federal Trade Commission immunity certification. 1. In general, the Commission shall certify any provider of an interactive computer service that 1. is a covered company or anticipates that it will become a covered company within the next 2 years. That's kind of vague. 2. Applies to the Commission for certification under the subparagraph, and 3. Proves to the Commission by clear and convincing evidence that the provider does not, and during the 2-year period preceding the date which provider submits an application for certification did not, moderate information provided by other information content providers in a politically biased manner. 2. Politically biased moderation. The moderation practices of a provider of an interactive computer service are politically biased if 1. the provider moderates that information provided by other information content providers in a manner that alpha is designed to negatively affect a political party, political candidate, or political viewpoint. Bravo, disproportionately restricts or promotes access to or the availability of information from a political party, political candidate, or political viewpoint. Or 2, an officer or employee of the provider makes the decision by moderating information that is provided by other information content providers that is motivated by an intent to negatively affect a political party, political candidate, or political viewpoint. Anyone else not thinking this is so great so far? Okay, just checking. 3. Exceptions. 1. Business necessity. An action of a provider of an interactive computer service that disproportionately restricts access to or the availability of information from a political party, political candidate, or political viewpoint shall not be considered to be politically biased, a politically biased moderation practice if the action is necessary for business, or if the information involved the information involved is not speech that would be protected under the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. Okay. Wait. Shall not be considered to be a political bias. Yes. Okay. Wait. Hold on a second. Let me read that again. An action of a provider of an interactive computer service that disproportionately restricts access to or the availability of information from a political party, political candidate or political viewpoint shall not be considered to be a politically biased moderation practice if the action necessary for business is necessary for business. Okay, I misread that. Or information involved that is not speech that would be protected under. Okay, no. Okay, that's fine. That would be protected under the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. There is no available alternative that has a less disproportionate effect, and the provider does not act with the intent to discriminate based on political affiliation, political party, or political viewpoint. So what this is saying is that so now the thing about using the term political viewpoint, well, we can get into what does it mean to be political. Well, you cannot not be political. Everything is political. Politics is defined as the establishment of rules or viewpoints, or however you want to say it, between people. So as soon as you have two people talking, communicating, which you cannot not communicating, you cannot not communicate, well then you have politics. So you cannot not be political, so therefore everything is political. So I'm not sure, I don't know if Senator Hawley is writing this in this aspect, but throwing in here that that it can't moderate something that's protected by the First Amendment. Okay, I can get behind that, you know. But unfortunately, in the context, it's saying a political viewpoint. Well, who's to say what's a political viewpoint? So 2, actions by employees. A provider of an interactive computer service shall not be denied a certification under the subparagraph on the basis of an employee of the provider acting in the manner described in clause 2, subclause 2, in making a decision about moderating information provided by other information content providers if the provider, immediately upon learning of the action of the employee, Alpha, publicly discloses in a conspicuous manner that an employee of the provider acted in a politically biased manner with respect to moderating information content, and Bravo, terminates or otherwise disciplines the employee. Okay. So, okay, I'll keep reading the rest of it because this is not a long bill. Certification notices. 1. Approval. The Commission shall not certify a provider of an interactive computer service under this subparagraph unless at least one more than a majority of the Commissioners approve such certification. 2. Timeline. The Commission shall ensure that timely applications for certification under this subparagraph are processed within 6 months. 3. Publication of dissenting opinions. The Commission shall make publicly available the dissenting opinion of any Commissioner who disagrees with the decision of the Commission to certify, deny certification to, certify or deny certification to a provider of interactive computer service. 4. Public input. The Commission shall establish a process to allow content providers to Alpha submit complaints or evidence that they have been subject to politically biased content moderation by a provider of an interactive computer service, and Bravo, attend or participate in any hearings that the Commission holds with respect to the application. From a provider. So 5. Renewals. An application to renew a certification shall be treated in the same manner as an application for a new certification. Okay, so when anybody on the Commission disagrees, make it public, allow the public to have their say on the issue and so forth. So that was all under Bravo. Bravo, the immunity certification. Charlie, duration of certification. 1, in general, subject to clause 2, which is the next clause, certification obtained under subparagraph Bravo shall remain in effect with respect to a provider of an interactive computer service for a period of 2 years may subsequently be renewed for an additional 2-year period, or for additional 2-year periods. Okay, and 2, extension for processing a subsequent application. If a provider of an interactive computer service submits an application to renew certification under subparagraph Bravo, while such certification is still in effect, such certification shall remain in effect while the Commission processes such an application, but in no case shall a certification remain in effect for more than 30 months without being renewed. Delta costs. 1. In general, the Commission shall charge a fee in connection with an application from a provider of an interactive computer service for a certification or a renewal of certification under subparagraph Bravo. 2. Limitation. The amount of any fee imposed under Clause 1 with respect to an application shall not exceed the cost of the Commission in processing such an application. And okay, so that was all of the inserts there, and then there's going to be another section of inserts. Where I lost my place here. Okay, so 2 in subsection Foxtrot by adding at the end the following new paragraph. So this is all that's going to be added there. 5. Cover company. The term cover company means a provider of interactive computer service other than the organization described in Section 501 Charlie of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986, which is exempt from taxation under 501 Alpha of such code. That at any time during the most recent 12-month period, Alpha had more than 30 million active monthly users in the United States, Bravo had more than 300 million active monthly users worldwide, or Charlie had more than $500 million in global annual revenue. 6. Moderate. In Alpha in general, the term moderate means 1. To influence if, when, where, and how information or other content provided by a third-party user appears on a covered company's interactive computer service, or 2. To alter the information or other content provided by a third-party user that appears on a covered company's interactive computer service. B. Algorithm. Such term shall include actions taken through an algorithm or other automated process. 7. Business necessity. The term necessary for business refers to a lawful act that advances the growth, development, or profitability of a company, but does not include any action designed to appeal to or gain favor from persons or groups because of their political beliefs, political party membership, or political support for candidates, or support for political candidates. So that's a little hard to enforce because you're talking about intent. So you have to prove intent of things. Okay, so that was all that's getting inserted there. Bravo, technical amendment, section 230, Charlie 2, Bravo, of the Communications Act of 1934, 47 U.S.C. 230, Charlie 2, Bravo, is amended by striking paragraph 1 and inserting paragraph A. Charlie, effective date. The amendments made by subsection Alpha shall take effect on a date that is 18 months after the date of the enactment of this Act. Section 3, authorities and duties of the Federal Trade Commission. Alpha, in general, the Federal Trade Commission referred to in this section as the Commission is authorized to do the following. 1. Staffing, to hire sufficient staff, whether on a part-time, full-time, or contract basis, to process applications under paragraph 3 of section 230, Charlie, of the Communications Act of 1934, 47 U.S.C. 230, Charlie. Got all that as added by section 2 Alpha. So hire new people to do this new shit. 2. Applications process. To establish processes to certify covered companies under paragraph 3 of such section 230 Charlie of the Communications Act of 1934, including setting rates for application fees and setting application deadlines. Bravo, rulemaking authority. Not later than 180 days after the date of the enactment of this Act, the Commission shall promulgate regulations in accordance with section 553 of Title 5 United States Code to carry out this section and the amendments made by section 2 Alpha. Charlie, reports. Not later than 5 years after the date of enactment of this Act, and every 5 years thereafter, the Commission shall submit a report to Congress on whether the ability of interactive computer services as such term defined in section 230 Foxtrot of the Communications Act of 1934, which is 47 U.S.C. 230 Foxtrot, to moderate content provided by and other information content providers, such that the protection provided by section 230 Charlie of such act is no longer necessary or should be modified. Okay, so that's this bill. So my thoughts on this bill. So one, when he talks about internet interactive, what is it? How is it described in here? Interactive computer services. Okay, well, the term interactive computer services means really any site on the internet. I mean, that's an interactive computer service, right? Well, not really any site, but I mean, like, you're not only talking about social media sites like Facebook and Twitter and all that, but you're also talking about online games like World of Warcraft and EVE Online and that kind of stuff. So it's a decent bill, and I got something in my throat. It's a decent bill. You know, I would like to do more, but you can't really explicitly do that in legislation. You know, when talking about like free speech on social media sites and whatnot. Well, I mean, you can. They can make legislation saying that corporations now have to, you know, allow for free speech. They can't restrict speech. It's not without. It's not like our government doesn't have the power to do that. It's just not something very easy to do. But the thing is that it uses the term political viewpoint. And again, I say, well, what does political mean? And realistically, you cannot not be political. Because, once again, anytime you have two people, then there's politics involved. What are politics? Well, it's a discussion or a determination of how we exist or coexist, really. And even if you're having a conversation with somebody, well, you're implicitly agreeing to coexist with that person on some level, and that is a political action. So, I would be for this. I would be for this bill, or in favor of this bill. And we've seen the recent talks about one side or another being censored, you know, ads being censored. And really, this would actually probably help. Would have, if this were in place, would have helped Tulsi Gabbard probably when after the one debates that Google all of a sudden, oops, your AdSense account, there's a problem with it, right? So, yeah, so that's all I gotta say about that. Seems like a decent bill. Of course, I may have missed something because once again, this is a cursory reading of it, and I feel the way I feel today. But I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts. And once again, my name is Charles Kovach. Thank you for your time.